which was fun. It was a really nice 2-year gap that we had over there, but I'm also really excited to be back at Congressional. Last time I played here was the US Open. So yeah, for me to be back playing this week is very, very exciting here at Congressional.
Okay, well, with that, we'll open it up and take some questions. Yeah, there we go.
What's your take on, this is obviously a pretty tough track for a regular tour event. What's your take on what you preferred? Would you like it to be toughened up, or you prefer kind of more birdies?
No, I prefer it toughened up. I think we have plenty of tournaments out on tour where there's birdie fests, and the real stout tests are becoming few and far between in a sense out on tour. So I really like playing the type of golf that's, I've always said the 10 under winning, if 10 under wins, to me that's a great tournament. It offers you the opportunity to post a score, to go out and play well, to be able to shoot a 65. But if you do go out and play well, you make big inroads towards winning the tournament. So, and I also like par to be still a decent score. So, if you've come off the golf course and you've made a number, you've played well. And I think courses like this offer you that opportunity. But if you're off your game, you're going to struggle, which is the way I think it should be. But so yeah, I really like this type of test. I think I'm right in saying that obviously the US Open was 16 under here, and I think the last time this tournament was played, it was less. Was it 12? 12, yeah. So, yeah, I mean, for me, that's a good setup.
Rex?
Justin, have you been on the golf course? Have you had a chance to play this week at all?
I have not, but heard that the word is that it's in great shape, and here the rough's up a little bit. So I'm assuming that the setup is going to be somewhat of that 10, 12 under winning total, and that's what I'm hoping, but I haven't had a chance to see it yet.
Mark?
Hey, Justin. Can you talk a little, obviously, Tiger coming back is a huge theme and deal here. Can you just talk about, having him back in, maybe, obviously the buzz that it brings this week, but just the game in general? How much, if you're even stepping away as a competitor, looking forward to kind of seeing where he's at and where he goes from here?
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's always a fascination in terms of watching Tiger play golf, and the run that he's been on throughout his career, and obviously what he still has to achieve in terms of his goals. And I think I think golf's going to get really exciting if he starts winning a couple more majors, and the race to 18 becomes incredibly on again. So that's exciting for the game of golf. I think that will create a lot more interest in the game once again. So. It's always good having him back in a tournament. I've always felt that if you win a tournament and Tiger's in the field, it makes it feel, probably that bit more special. So, and just from an atmosphere point of view, yeah, I mean, definitely he brings out people to play, people to watch, and that's always a fun environment to be a part of. So yeah, I mean, it's sort of from a player's point of view. You want to compete against the best, you want to play against the best, and if you manage to beat the best, it's a great feeling. So from that point of view, it's always good to have him in the field.
Yep, right here.
A lot of guys are using the shot link stats to kind of become more analytical about their game and what they need to practice on. I'm just curious, have you gone that route?
Yeah, I've always paid attention to greens and regulation or fairways hit, but the shot link stuff is so in depth now that it doesn't seem, my putting from 6 feet, 7 feet, 8 feet, 9 feet, 10 feet, I might be 30th from 6 and 7 feet, but it'd be 180th from 8 feet, and then 60th from 10 feet. So sometimes you can't really then go out and practice 8-footers because that's what you're 190th at. But so sometimes there's a bit of it's how you interpret stats, I think, is very, very important. But I don't get that in depth and detailed on it, if I'm honest.
Yeah, two right here, and then if one of y'all would pass the microphone up front.
Justin, what's the longest layoff you've had because of an injury or just something nagging?
I think for me, probably 2007 was a nagging season. I would sort of spend 4 or 5 weeks sitting out, then I would play again, and then it would reoccur, and I'd spend 4 or 5 weeks sitting out, play again, 4 or 5 weeks sitting out. But actually, 2007 turned into one of my best years too. I won the European Tour Order of Merit, only playing 12 events. So in some ways, I was incredibly fresh, and every time I played, I was, for some reason, the freshness rather than the rustiness played played in my favor. So that was that season, and then obviously the beginning of this year, I had about another 4, 5, 6 week break, just trying to get the shoulder feeling good. So I've never had what I would call a prolonged spell out. Obviously, if you have surgery, it's 3, 4 months out of the game, and that's probably much tougher than 4 or 5 weeks. But I've been lucky enough to only have had that stretch out.
So in your case, it didn't take a lot to get back into form, being out.
Well, to be honest, I felt a little bit slow starting out this year, and the thing is, my 4 or 5 weeks out at the beginning of the year came off the back of 3 or 4 weeks off that were scheduled because of the off season, so it felt like 8 or 9 weeks. And it probably did take me a few weeks to get going, and I felt like I really only sort of found my stride, Augusta or post-Augusta, probably Players' Championship onwards, if I'm honest. So, there was a little bit more of playing my way in this year than I'd have liked.
We're here and then 2 up front.
Justin, is there a feeling with Tiger, knowing how competitive he is, that he wouldn't be coming back here to get the rust off necessarily, or do you feel that any golfer, how no matter who he is, has that part of the game? You have to go get that rust off, and you may be not expecting him to be as competitive as he normally is.
Yeah, I mean, I think no matter who you are, I think there's an element of getting the rust off, and I think that if I was Tiger Woods, I'd probably be looking at the Open Championship, and the decision to play here is because he doesn't want to be rusty at the Open Championship. And I always feel like there's a slight lag effect. You can have your game on the range, and it might take a week or 2 weeks, or having the scorecard in your hand for 5 or 6 rounds before what you see on the range becomes what you see on the golf course. And I think that's the case for all of us. If we're making a swing change, or if we just haven't played a lot of golf, I think sometimes it just takes to get the scoring head back on, to be able to up and down it and keep momentum going in around a golf. There's sort of key points in a round that I think that you only get better at that just by playing a little bit of golf and getting tournament sharp. So for me, who knows? Obviously, Tiger he always talks about being here to win, and I'm probably sure that is the case. But I'm sure there could be an element of looking a week or 2 ahead for the Open Championship.
Karen, right here, and then over here.
Justin, you in 2007, Jason Day this year. It seems like golfers especially, it's hard to know when is the right time to come back, and a lot of you try to come back early. Why do you think what makes it so difficult? Is it what you're saying, that you can only find out so much about where you're at on the range, or what makes this such a tricky transition?
Yeah, I think it is tricky because in the back of your mind, you know that you've had 3 or 4 months out, and it might take a month to get fired up and ready to go again and actually be ready to win tournaments. So then that adds another month to your rehab. And I think maybe playing tournament golf for a first week or 2, it should be included as rehab in a sense, because there is just getting back into the swing of things can take a week or 2 or a month or so. So obviously, as soon as you feel physically fit, I think then it's time to try and get out and start getting mentally fit back out on the golf course.
Right here, then over here.
Does the stress of competition when you make your first return after an injury start to exacerbate a possible injury? Meaning you felt good on the range, but now you're adding stress into the mix of a championship. Can you start to feel pain maybe that you might not normally feel?
It would make sense that could be the case. I mean, it's very difficult to that's very tough to quantify, but mental stress, there's only one source of energy that you have, whether it's mental, physical, emotional, whatever it may be. So yeah, if you're depleting yourself through mental stress, of course, it can take its toll physically, but I think we'd all like to be, in that situation, obviously feeling that, at the end of the day, that's why we play the game, is to feel that mental stress out there on the golf course. But, I think from a true sort of mechanical standpoint, though, if you have an injury it is what it is. I don't think you're going to really delay your recovery by just being in contention or having some mental stress. I don't think it's going to worsen the effects. I mean, who knows? I'm not a doctor, but I don't think so.
Okay, a couple more right here, and then Shane in the back.
Justin, not that you're watching all the time, but what do you make of Jordan Spieth's game, especially having the success he's had at such a young age?
Yeah, I mean, I think Jordan's obviously played phenomenally well, and just the fact he's just got himself in contention so many times and in so many big tournaments, I think that, he keeps showing up, he keeps knocking on the door, and I think he's just sort of really pocketing so much valuable experience right now, and, I think that's the way he's choosing to see it. I think if he can just sort of ride out any potential frustration that might get in his way. I think what he's experiencing right now is so many positives, and he's learning so much. And you know, what I noticed with Jordan is if he has a bad round, he always comes back strong the next day. He seems to be very resilient. So from that perspective, it's impressive.
Okay, Shane, then we'll finish up right here.
Justin, can you reflect on what attracted you to the sport of golf as a kid? And do you remember the first either tournament you won or the first big one you won?
Yeah, I think it was something that I enjoyed doing with my dad. I think first and foremost, he got me into it. So just going out and spending time probably got me away from some homework originally, and then I felt like I got good at it very quickly. So as a kid, if you're good at something, you want to keep doing it. And if you have any success early, which you know, fortunately I did as a very young kid, you know, I was always sort of ahead of my age group, and that's who you compare yourself to as a kid. So for me, that remained fun, and you know, I won a lot of tournaments as a kid. And again, that keeps it fun for you. But I always enjoyed it over. I mean, I played a lot of team sport. I played football. You can call it football during the World Cup. You know what I'm talking about now. So I played. Yeah, I know. I don't want to bring that up. So I played a lot of football, but I pushed that to the side because I started getting injured and hips and, you know, groins and stuff like that. I, you know, just kind of felt like it was getting in the way of my golf. So yeah, I sort of liked the fact that it was always down to me and scorecard in my hand. And I love practicing golf. I love going out and being creative, dropping balls behind trees and out of bunkers and different lies. And I love the variability to the game. So I think that's what kept me engaged.
Do you have a memory of the first tournament you ever won?
I think, well, for me, the big season for me was when I was 14. I had a lot of success that year, and there's a big amateur event at my home club called the Hampshire Hog. And I won that at the age of 14, which was, I guess, a big deal, you know, regionally. And, you know, won it with a tournament score, shot 69, 65, and, you know, beat all the sort of the big old grown-up guys. And that's the one that really, I think, was sort of a turning point in terms of me believing and knowing I was going to go on and be a pro golfer.
Finish up right here.
Was it disappointing to have to pull out of this event last year, and you know, what is it like to be back this year?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, obviously having won the US Open, I then felt that I wanted to keep my commitment to playing the Travelers Championship and here, obviously the then AT&T. But it became apparent after playing 1 week immediately after the US Open that if I played again, I was just really going to be in no shape to compete at the Open Championship. And if I'm honest, I didn't really felt like I felt like I had a hard time preparing for the Open as it was with everything that happened for me after the US Open, and just I wasn't 100% ready to play. So that was my reason for pulling out, was just to try and give myself half a chance at the Open. As it turned out, I didn't do a great job of that anyway. But yeah, it's great to be back this year, and this tournament always falls in a very sort of you know, a busy time of year. It's in between a couple of majors, but it's such a great tournament that I think that it suits my game, and it's the type of profile of event that I really enjoy to play.
Okay, Justin, best of luck this week, and thanks for your time.
Thank you.